First of all, I wanted to thank all the folks who stuck it out and made it through the weekend and built some cool stuff. Please, I know it sounds corny, but give yourselves a round of applause. I'm going to actually show and meet everybody around the world for a second, so hang on. So, just so you get a sense of who we are. And that over there is the beer fridge. So anyway, let's put this up here. So we have a couple of some very nice presentations coming up, a lot of different interesting applications. And we're going to start with a team that's built an application called StayFit, which is designed to help people organize and plan out and bring their friends into events around fitness and other health topics. Is that correct, Rolando? Free of you, Ronaldo. Although I know some of them. Do you want me to? I can give Mike it that way too if that's easier for you.
That might be easier.
Actually, I think you kind of don't build it up. We'll try. Give it a second. Let me get the mic.
I'm Ronaldo. Wait here for a second. Yeah, that's good. So what we created over this weekend.
So you're a tall guy. Good.
Basically, a kind of just a simple web application that.
Right in your face. There you go.
Sorry about that. It's a simple web application that you can sign in. And do confirmation codes. I sent it to myself earlier. So
Hold it up.
what this does now is just basically just going to send me a message with a confirmation code so I can confirm the account. I'm just really tired and partner over this from inside out. And it sends you an email as well. So once you're in, you can easily start by creating an event.
The idea is basically most of the times we avoid getting into shape. Most of them like me. Those are opportunities where we go to actually go and play tennis. We don't know where the place is nearby and all this thing, right? Most of them are public tennis courts. Splash courts. What we are telling is you go and explore these places and invite your friends so that there is some kind of peer pressure to actually do those events, and then share the goodwill and make sure you can invite more people, meet a lot of people in the process. So as you can see, we can create a lot of events. We can invite people and we can have a lot of locations, like for example, I found a nice what we call children's park where I can take my kids to. So we can just put all these things and we invite our friends to join the courses. And we also have, we can search for a couple of places here. For example, you can search for tennis courts nearby. There are a lot of them, but most of the time we don't even explore them. So we are actually, through this application, we want to force them to use and explore. It's the basic idea of it. So,
but is very possible and simple to do. Also, we would like to build in a way to kind of share the expense of an event. Say, for example, you have an event that costs so much per person, and they would potentially use an API like Venmo to share the expense and then process that payment. In addition, we needed a chance to implement or integrate third-party APIs that do tracking, fitness tracking, we do like calories or locations. And some of those APIs are Fitbit and Strava. What we didn't get around to doing was integrating third-party APIs such as Fitbit, Moves, or Strava that have fitness location tracking data. Questions?
Now, if the judges have questions too, I'm going to throw the mic down real fast and we'll turn the screen on for a second.
So two questions. So the problem you're talking to solve is equals like getting form fit. Right.
It's kind of it's a
Sorry.
in general the problem is it's not necessarily being fit, but it's when people have access to data that rarely shows how an activity will kind of benefit them. So the way this works is that they're encouraged more through their friends to actually participate in some kind of fitness-based activity. Whether they get fit or not, that's entirely up to them. But what we're trying to do is make it a way for them to not make an excuse for not doing something. Right? Oh, you want to play basketball next Sunday? Maybe I want to do that. But if they have this web application and the user who organized the events just basically send out SMS messages to remind them. But on top of that, people who are more competitive in nature and afterwards kind of compete against themselves by potentially reporting scores of events that they had occurred or events that had occurred or they had participated in. But this wouldn't necessarily be limited to just fitness things. It would be more about doing anything with somebody that can have some sort of metric.
And the kickoff is basically mobile app, right? Mobile.
It can be. Right now, it's just a bootstrap thing, but using phone app would be the next step.
By the way, I'm thinking it is private and QA is doing service.
One thing that I was doing is how to make this spread out. So do you have anything in your mind to make it more viral spread? So kind of getting some communication into it. I don't know, best aside from SMS. So do you have any?
Just right now it's SMS and right now it's SMS and email.
Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram potentially, even though that API doesn't necessarily have that functionality yet. But that was another one of the things that I got around to doing was integrating Instagram in their locations feed. Because that date, there's a lot of Thank you.
That's probably better.
Yeah, so let me go.
Yeah, switch.
So,
This is-
yeah, these headset mics will do that.
Yeah.
That's a mistake.
Thank you.
We haven't used this before because there's been some question of what sort of off was. Yeah, it's a, there's a comment on the thingy to say it's hard to see the screen. Okay. Right now it probably is.
I think we're gonna have to move it again though in a second.
So the next. Okay. Are Paul and Peach, are you guys ready? No. Or who's next? Okay, how about Citizen 5 over? You guys ready? Okay, come on up, guys. We got 2 wireless mics. I can hear you guys.
Jay, you want to stop the video?
Mario, you want to? That one, hang on.
That one does. Judge, do the question. Yeah, you're good. Stop blocking. Mind if I move that tiny bit there? Is that good?
Screen shoulder.
What you drink, you gotta be sound. This is what part.
Yeah, you actually it's on orange, punch it, it should be on green. Button there, push it.
Citizen 5.
Everyone sits there.
Going to do this sound. The rounds will be timed so again. Rounds will be timed.
We got ready to go.
Yes, sir.
So we're going to log in for president.
That's a different computer, that's why. Just to explain what's going on, they switched computers and the login for Prezi was with their other computer, so now they're getting it up and running.
Good?
We hear all the stories. And now we can back it up with actual data. And this is all real time. So the premise here is you encounter a police officer. Take a second after the traffic stop, enter the information about the traffic stop, and next week, next month, whatever, next time that very same police officer has another encounter with somebody else, we record that data. Over time, we're going to be able to put together a very nice profile about this police officer, whether they are being respectful civil servants or whether they're abusing their powers. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. Some of those.
So basically, when a person's doing a traffic stop in California, there's actually a little known law. You must be able to provide your driver's license or sufficient documentation to establish identity. If you're not able to do that, you can actually be arrested. The other issue is there's a difference between reasonable search and seizure and a little known law called reasonable suspicion. Most people think that when they're stopped at a traffic stop, that cop is actually violating their civil rights. Actually, if the officer has reasonable suspicion, they can actually arrest you, detain you for that. So the intent here is to sort of highlight under the civil rights mechanism and enforcement. If you guys all remember the Zimmerman trial, Zimmerman actually reported that there was a suspicious person, and it was actually the caller that asked was the identity of the person, black, white, or Hispanic. And so the intent is to try to remove that, kind of protect some of the civil rights without the person identifying the person.
All right, so I'm going to go into a quick demo of the product. Right now, anyone can go into that to that URL. It's going to log in automatically. The minute you enter any kind of data, let's say we want to make this a report for a good cop, and we're going to enter a random badge number. The cop's name is Jerry. City, San Francisco, the state. The fine amount is going to be very important because now we can say, we'll know, is this cop issuing higher fines to women versus men, like older people versus young people, and so on and so forth. So let's just say the ticket was $150. Scroll back up there. Go back to the All right, and it's going to ask me why I would stop. The very important information here is reasonable cause and reasonable suspicion. What is your gender? I'm a male. Set Okay. My heritage is just black. Right now the count is at 4 for black, and as soon as I hit submit, that is updated instantly. So everybody knows what's going on in your city, who your cops are pulling over, and so on. Talk a little bit about the technology. I'm going to turn it over to Chris.
Yeah. So we wanted to create a mobile application. Obviously, we will need. So we wanted to create a mobile application. Obviously, we do not go here, so instructions sometimes. So we decided to take very mobile to create just a simple interface. Right now, so when the user opens up the app, obviously you start the home page, which was like with our logo. You'll be able to log in with Facebook, probably Twitter or Instagram. So it's not like anyone just signing up to it. You'll be able to log into these services. You present with the dashboard, which obviously is sort of real time. Information. And then you could do a search. Right now the search is not yet implemented, but you'll be able to do a search by the cop's badge number, and then you'll be able to see all the reports that you made about a certain cop based on the badge number. So that's not yet implemented, but as you demo, probably you're able to rate a cop. So if your rating is 6 and up, you'll go to the good cop form. If it's lower than that, takes you to the platform. So over time you'll be able to aggregate data the reviews there are that data together. And in the back end, or I wouldn't say back end, but what's really taking care of our back end is Firebase and you guys use Firebase, but it's sort of a quick way for us to get out set up
If you're curious about the business model, you want to have this over here. Talk about that.
Okay. So business development, we're hoping to wrap up. Okay. The business development end, we have a dashboard that aggregates all the data based on police stops throughout the city, based on demographics. So based on that data, we can actually have police departments be more accountable for the behavior by looking at what the officers are doing, doing high granularity. And also, we think that this will help promote citizen awareness of the rights as well. Another additional feature that's going to be included in this app are pop quizzes and issues about civil rights and personal labor rights out of stock. So hopefully promoting a better citizen police.
And that's Citizen Fiber.
As far as I understand, the overall premise of the project is based on this model.
File complaint, which have to provide evidence to go through the process and whether or not it's sustained. So there's actually going to to ensure
that might be liability one if you are providing false evidence.
Right, right. So there's a process we go through a committee, and then they would be sustained by the committee. You know, doing that particular source of or personal disciplinary action. If it is not sustained, it goes through.
Why do people like to make reports that don't want to their own name?
All right. The information of the reporter is not going to be public information. For the police officer, if they read a report, they're going to be able to identify the individual. That is a concern of mine if they review retaliation for that specific individual and so on. If the report, does cause some kind of damage to that police officer's career. It's going to be a little bit tested, to be quite honest with you. We don't have the answers for everything in 48 hours, but I just think it's good enough a tool for us to get the rest.
You can also ask for the that's a public record, but that's it. Not a public record.
Thanks.
Let's see. So, two interesting projects. Next up, Harmon, are you guys ready to go? Yeah. Okay, come on up. And then after that, we have Range for Good, and then the Institute. Where's the Institute? You guys are going last? I'm sorry, volunteer.
By the way, at the beginning, can you say the app name or screen
Sorry?
name?
Yes.
When you start talking, can you say the app name so that the people who are watching know to reach?
Yes.
So,
Is the light green on the mic?
Yes.
That's great, that's right. Oh, wait, this one. That, you guys can hear me good? Go ahead. Testing. Testing. That's, wait, I have to really test it. All right. Karma, volunteer app. Ladies and gentlemen, what is the single greatest resource for changing the world? It's people. Everyday people. The human capital and human potential all around us every day. How do we untap it? How do we unlock it? We want to tell you a story to explain this. This is Jenny. Jenny is one of 64 million people who volunteer in America every year. But she's just getting started, and she's looking for an opportunity for the very first time. So what does she do? She goes on Google, and she starts searching. And she finds one of the more popular platforms out there today, Volunteer Match. She goes to check it out. And Jenny's looking around, and she's stumbling through filters and options, and eventually she finds a couple opportunities that might match her needs, and she goes for it. And then she's hit with this. Sign up, a vague open-ended text box where she has to tell the organization something, but doesn't explain what she has to tell them, and she's in shock. But unlike Jenny, unlike most of us, she persevered and she got through that. But for the rest of us, we have something different. Enter Karma. In just 2 clicks, you can sign up with your LinkedIn account. And you're ready to go with your skills to help you find the perfect match. Karma is a platform that enables young professionals to find the right skill-based opportunities for them so that they can drive the greatest social impact with the best organizations that match their needs and interests. And for George is is a nonprofit leader here in San Francisco. And for the first time, he can go onto Karma and he can actually find the volunteers, the skill-based volunteers that he needs to build out his social media campaign, to launch his crowdfunding campaign, to build out the organization's greatest needs, where his organization, which is a small, growing nonprofit, but needs that extra skill set to come in and take on a certain project. And so he can view those skill sets and click and simply request a volunteer. And so we used Matt in this situation to supplement Jenny. He did a very good job.
These 3 requests just came in.
And so what we're doing is creating a platform that simplifies and streamlines the communication for people to find the greatest opportunities for them. And we're going to do it through a mobile app. And that's the vision. The vision is a platform that makes it seamless, and that in a matter of clicks, you can view the opportunities nearest you that match your skills and causes. And that's Karma, volunteer app. Thank you.
Actually, I don't have a question, but I think you guys should really talk to LinkedIn or Google to make this a reality.
Understood. Thanks.
For comment, when we had the big earthquake in Japan, this was actually exactly what people were talking about because people are volunteering and going to the UN, people didn't know where like steel mattresses from. And there's a lot of people started doing that in Japan as well. The question is when this service gets more attraction, a lot of people get selected. How do you rank? How would among the thousands of people who want to volunteer, there's a lot of success. How do you prioritize? Is there like a algorithm that
Yeah, so we're pulling a lot of data from LinkedIn, and the goal in the future is to make sense of this more skillfully than just bring a lot of tags out there and then matching tags, so that we can understand what type of organization that is and what their needs are, and then better match them with the person who has those skill sets, is interested in that, and has experience to actually make that happen.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much. So next up is Domains for Good. Abdul and Sam, you're going to be next after this. It should be working. So who's going to choose the topic? Use how do I get everybody in? Yeah. Just trying to get everybody in and the screen too. Okay.
Dive in. Routine domains for good, then create in that. And domain for good turns your unused domains into social good. So if you look at the domain registrar industry, as well as the opportunity for domain names, there's 282 million domain names registered. But unfortunately, 50% of these sit parked, but unused and abandoned. And as I asked, like, how many of us have projects that we started or we find domain names, we're thinking, or we get inspired, just never do anything. For the developer community as well as anybody, we need to create a place to put these domains to good use. And we've all seen this. We go to something, we expect something. This is Arista.com or a good name. We all have these type of names. They serve a purpose, they add no value. So, what is the better way that we can take advantage of, all these unused domains? And that's domains for good. And really why this is important is that charity donations are important, but also raising social awareness is equally important. Getting aware about your cause and making people aware of the potential to volunteer, make their share with their friends, etc. So the site is live today, and as the first thing as you come to the site, we want to help you get started now to create your domain name. And there's really two functions on the site. One is if you have extra
Awesome. And this is the cause of the day. Hand Up, the charity cause to help homeless in San Francisco be self-sufficient and to generate donations. And so all the sites on the leaderboard, as well as all the donations that have already been submitted, are now forwarding to Hand Up. And so the site is live. To submit a cause for a promotion, sign up. Simple. And you can submit a cause, just title and name, and it will show up on the leaderboard of what happens here. We have some popular causes that are on site already. And I think that's it. Any other things we should add?
That's good, yeah.
We have, social sharing buttons are the standard functions that you expect. Really, the two purposes: one is to redirect all the names. Two is to create a central sort of uploading site where people can find great causes and advocate for causes to send them web traffic.
So this mic is definitely dead now. So we'll just.
Oh, microphone is dead.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So why don't we just let the judges just shout their ass?
I have a question here. I have a couple of domains.
Do we have like
I have a couple of domains, and I would like to participate in this project. So I wouldn't be afraid of what if somebody is using my domain for something that is not actually legal. So do you have think of that?
Yeah, we're supposed to be running out a lot of instructions about the cause and what is considered a cause, and ourselves as site moderators, basically anything to be oriented, really removed from the site and back to the URLs. And it's still a manual process for going live on the cause that's being the next day, so it'll be seen for all those websites. Oops. Sorry.
In relation to the question, but the other side of the issue. So let's assume that somebody, some kind of a black segregated the domain engine website, but the domain is, I don't know, kind of a nasty website like I hate Witos.com. And as a volunteer, I love Witos and I want to popularize the practice of Witos. And I enter my Witos login URL to your campaign. And the other guy enters his domain, and all of a sudden I see my advertisement on a Witos hating website. So is the way to prevent domains as well from this?
So one thing that we thought about is, so in this redirect page, all traffic that you see is going to come from the main .org. And so even if you have like either Doritos or a porn site or something like that, the cause, the end charity, wouldn't see that domain that's
Emily works at Gandhi.net.
And I might add, we already had a contact from the chief reach out to us, so maybe there's larger opportunities.
Awesome. Well, Rackspace also does domain registration.
And we are listed on Rackspace.
And Google, come to say.
search if there's a
For me, I got this. Now it's working.
No, it's working. Okay. Let's turn it off and go blue
Get the wireless one too. Do you want to do a presentation or just show the app?
I can do like a screencast.
Okay. Then screencast for HDMI cable. Shorter.
Give me 1 second.
Can we move the table back for you? Or? If you could bring the laptop there, that would be ideal.
Yeah, give me 1 second.
And then when you, maybe I'll do, when she's showing the actual app, you can actually just call me. You can just take the app and just put it on. It's a little weird, but it's a little weird.
Like you can see.
Yes.
Okay, this one.
Cool, so we have Abdul and Sam, and they're going to show us an interesting app that they built with another team, actually part of the team, who went home because they built back and you guys can find it.
All right. Okay. Hi guys, my name is Sam, this is Abdul, and the app that we worked on over the weekend is called Remind. So basically the problem that we wanted to tackle is in the mental illness space. Our objective was to create a tool that lets people with serious mental illnesses who have a therapist or a psychologist or some kind of healthcare provider like that. It lets them communicate with that person more effectively than tools that are already good. So the boost emotions, maybe if somebody's seeking a new medication and their therapist wants to see what they're doing. So the way that it works basically is that the patient would have this mobile app, they'd be able to log in. Sorry, the latency on this. Okay. So once they've logged in, they'll see a log of all of their rooms that they've entered from the past few months or so, and they'll be able to enter basically how they're feeling at any given point in time. So this is the main screen that will let you select an option. So just really quick check out, how are you feeling? Just say I'm feeling happy. Okay, so what are you doing? Just a broad overview of what you're doing. Maybe you're working. And then sort of a question that's just how are you functioning? What's your general mental state? Are you like lying in bed? Are you up and doing things? Let's say you're feeling kind of lazy. And you can enter a small note like, I'm feeling tired today. And then submit that. So then there would be a web interface that your therapist would be able to access and sort of keep track of like all of these different little micro that you make throughout the day. So the main functionality of this app is actually that it will prompt you and remind you at a few different points during the day to enter this information, just to make sure that maybe 3 times a day you're letting your therapist know how you're doing. So right now, for the purposes of this demo, you can say that we're going to select to be reminded every 10 seconds. So what happens is that on your phone, let's just say you're doing other things, you'll now get this little notification up to the top that asks you how you're feeling. When you click on it, it'll prompt you to enter some information about you. That's basically the gist of the app. And now I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about Sound.
Alright, so the app is supposed to be for mostly iPhones, and then we ported to Android. So as you saw, it was helping people to keep track of their health record. So this is the first. I don't know if you guys can see it. So this is like the first time you come into the application. So download looks up to tap into plus, and then you tap into it. It will take you to the steps where you can add how you feel and hit next. What are you doing? And then how are you functioning? So this is the I would say the important part of the application where you can see your activities, your kind of like how was your mood last 2 days or so. And what we're thinking is like so since we have kind of a lot of data, daily you can have like 3 moments of entries per day. So it's kind of overwhelming to show it in like scrolling play like table or something. So we're trying to have something that's more visual and easy to digest for users. And also a big part where you can add your therapist to invite him so we can see your record and track it. And also can. So basically, it was kind of interesting as a designer to approach this project because it was kind of challenging. I didn't have a background on health issues or like health apps. So this was interesting idea that I had a lot from doing. The team was 3 developers, actually 4 developers, 2 backend developers, and Sam, who was in the Android native app, and Ryan, who was working remotely, working on the iOS app. And so we tried to have like the app on 3 platforms, but due to technical difficulties, time issues, we couldn't finish the interface in the iPhone. So that's pretty much what was reminders. Any questions?
Have you thought of eventually also a platform of getting in touch with your doctor and having interactions with the patient and
We actually have potential through the web interface because for the therapist or the doctor, you can't see all the activity when you invite him through the web application. So that we haven't like thought about the conversation.
Yeah. So I guess one of the ideas is that if they notice that you're not doing particularly well, so if they notice they can say text message, call. There's just like a really easy way for them to be able to know.
So, question from the chat. So you can do some follow-up after asking about how you're feeling symptoms and what influence you have it feeling, maybe provide some advice and support channels if you're not feeling good, but about anything in those respects.
So you're asking if they notice that you're not feeling good, like what sort of I haven't really thought about that. I think it would be mostly up to the person who's sort of checking up on you, which would be a therapist or just a parent, friend, just sort of criticize you, to sort of take responsibility for looking out for you. But I guess we could easily provide like hotline numbers or something if somebody has to
And who was on Rails?
Not a question, but it might be better if you have like so you're basically in like your account, your maybe some other input.
So that was the last presentation for today, and I want to thank everyone who presented. Judges will how they up to huddle up and do their counting.